There's a fine line between excitement and anxiety from the cognitive perspective. So, long story short, flame throwing content and experiences is very cognitively fatiguing. It's actually adverse to what you hope to achieve with an audience. I'm Ben Morsom, and this is Engagement Decoded, where I share insights and tips on how to better, more effectively navigate engagement with audiences, so you can stop guessing and fight for the attention of those you want to connect with. What do I mean by flame throwing? It's really about the myth of engagement for me, that more is more. To engage, you have to do more. And this really came to me early on in my career in the early 90s when I would turn my attention towards the audience, and I would think about how companies would look at engagement as purely from the attention-getting perspective. They would say, hey, if we have their attention, they're engaged. Attention equals engagement. But as we know, attention is just a tiny part of engagement. It's the keyhole to engaging in the minds of an audience. But what companies were doing was basically burning down the door with a flamethrower in order to get the attention of an audience. A lot of activity, a lot of action, a lot of noise, a lot of lights, a lot of pyrotechnics, a lot of excitement. And I would tell my clients very early on that they're stepping into dangerous territory when they were approaching events like this. Unfortunately, not many of them would pay attention to me. That's why the science had to come in. Because what was happening in those moments when they're inundating an audience, yes, you're going to get their attention. It's like, you know, how a parent wants to get the attention of a child. They're going to raise their voice. They're going to be more aggressive. They're going to move towards, they're going to do all these attention-grabbing activities, but what's the behavioral outcome of that? It's actually not excitement. It's anxiety, and there's a fine line between excitement and anxiety from the cognitive perspective. So, long story short, flame throwing content and experiences is very cognitively fatiguing. It's actually adverse to what you hope to achieve with an audience. It can actually reduce the capacity for an audience to focus and pay attention after that flame throwing moment within your experience. I often explain when I'm talking to audiences in my presentations about the idea of walking down Las Vegas Boulevard as it relates to flame throwing. Think about how you feel when you get to the end of that, because you don't have to be doing anything other than walking down Las Vegas Boulevard to become fatigued, cognitively fatigued, because of the inundation of stimuli. There's too much to look at. And unfortunately, this is what a lot of organizations are attempting to do to engage audiences, is just throw as much at them, create as much stimulation, and you're going to be fatigued. You're going to lose the ability to concentrate after a short amount of time, and you're going to be seeking restoration, which are not the desired outcomes that you want to achieve during an engagement. So to avoid flame throwing, you have to be more intentional in the design of your experiences or your communication strategies. This is why we call it neuroscaping. It's how do you scape an experience to the cognitive state of an audience, which requires balance. It's a dance. It requires the right amount of information or stimuli over the right amount of time. And to do this, it means designing an experience from the perspective of the minds of your audience. For example, if it is an event, what is the state of your audience if they are a remote or communication-based audience? And then figure out what the cadence, the dance of that content and experience is in order to find the right resonance with that audience. And then you avoid this propensity to flame throw, thinking that we have to get the most out of this audience in the time that we have with them. Engagement really is a two-way transaction. And That means there's give and take. You are asking the audience to give you their attention, and you need to then take that ask responsibly and give it to them in a way that they can pay attention, so that now you're creating resonance that draws you closer together instead of a flame-throwing approach, which is just going to push them away. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Engagement Decoded. Do you want to learn more? Hit that subscribe button below and never miss an episode to learn how to increase engagement with your audience. I'm Ben Morsum, and thank you for watching.